Okay, welcome everybody to the Autotask Workplace Group demo. My name is Ryan North. I'll be hosting the demo and walkthrough for you today. This is being hosted and broadcast on WebEx. So if you're experiencing any issues or technical experiences that you can notify us in the box on the right-hand side. We're happy to assist from there. Also, going forward, any webinars and schedules around us providing, sort of webinar demonstrations can all be found on our website, autotask.com, under resources, and then on-demand webinars will give you a whole list of the itinerary. There's also a post-webinar survey, so those that would like to contribute with feedback or responses, we're always happy to take that as well. So let's get started, the Autotask Workplace Group demo. So the agenda today is talking about some marketing trends that convert really over into opportunities, an Autotask Workplace overview, as well as a service demo, and then also a peek at the partner portal as well, just to kind of do a summary or a survey on that as well. So roughly about 75% or so find sharing files. Business workers find sharing files easily with coworkers, partners, and customers important or very important, right? So the fact that collaboration is critical in today's day and age is something that everybody knows and everybody is looking to try and find some methodology around. So this is an important issue. It's a critical system that does require that we tie technology into it and that it's operated under a single umbrella that makes sense from a company's perspective. 69% access business files via smartphone or tablets. So again, this is becoming a change in the future in terms of how businesses are run. Now you can't find an 8-year-old that doesn't have a smartphone or a tablet, and they're getting very good at them, right? So that business community will grow up to become very savvy with these smartphones and tablets, and it's really the way of sort of collaborating in today's day and age, especially with different locations and whatnot. And that kind of hits at this one. 66% frequently work out of the office or from home, right? And this is causing a direct correlation to them needing to access via smartphones and tablets to be able to plug in during, on road warriors or traveling on different trips and, visiting different off-site locations. 78% didn't have or didn't know they had an approved file sharing system. So many are operating through sort of a rogue account of their own where they're storing company DNA in those accounts and they're utilizing those without sort of a central administration, right? And this is something that, companies are looking to try and change. They want to have something that's uniform, something that everybody can be a part of that works under one umbrella. So, within the market, there's a clear opportunity, and the clients are aware of this, and the prospects are really going to, are aware of this as well. And 1/3 of companies are looking to either adopt a new FSS solution or adopt their own FSS solution within the next 12 months, right? And so this is only going to grow, I think, as companies find that their legacy hardwares are failing and they're trying to become more cloud enabled. This becomes more of a topic that they want to look at. So what is the Autotask Workplace? So it is an enterprise-grade FSS solution that's intuitive and easy-to-use interface, and you'll see that today in the demo. It has a mobile platform that is really built for collaboration. It comes all-inclusive with editing, document creating, and document annotation. It's purpose-built for business and sold only through the MSP, right? So this is really driven through the partners. We have no direct business, so it's really protected and driven through the channel partners that are investing in Autotask. Today, it's currently being offered to 150,000 businesses in over 134 countries, which is roughly about 2 billion files being managed at any given time. Some enterprise-grade security as well, out-of-the-box compliance, right? SOC 2 audited both for the service as well as the actual operations. It's HIPAA compliant, and we will sign a BAA if that's something that's needed. We abide by the US-EU Safe Harbor. We also have geo-redundant regional data centers in the US, Canada, as well as the EU. So let's get into the Autotask demo. So let me share my screen here, and I'll be able to showcase you guys exactly what the Autotask service is. All right, so the Autotask Workplace is a 3-point synchronization platform. As a user of the service, you have 3 options of getting access to your content. You have a folder that is a local sync folder. which can be found on your desktop, and it looks very similar to a Windows sort of, folder environment. And this is a live sync, so this is one point of access to a live sync. You have a browser that you can log into, Google Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, any of those, and you can have your credentials, you log into that, and that gets you to a live sync as well. And then the third point of access in regards to a live sync is the mobile application, right? So those are your three primary access points. Now, in regards to this local folder, this provides a way that users can work off of the local in the event that they, lose the internet connection, or they still, they need to have something tethered down to their local. This provides them with some stability to be able to do that. This has cloud features built into it, so if I drill into one of these folders and I go to a document and I right-click on that document, I can open the document from here. I can, lock into open the document, which is tied to the service, commenting, public links, and then also locking for further use, on an extended period. So a lot of cloud functionality built in here so that if you need to send a public link or you need to lock a document, you can do so from this local environment, right, which is very handy for some companies and some user groups. There's a desktop agent down here, and if we open up this desktop agent, this opens to a control panel where you can see, the basics around this desktop agent's, sort of configuration. If we go to progress as a user, this will give us an understanding of what is currently syncing within this local sync folder, as well as what files have recently been sunk or, historically been sunk, right? So this is giving you sort of a synopsis of what's going on in relationship to that sync folder. If we get into settings, this is going to give us a list of these folders, or what we call projects right here. So these are the projects that are syncing to my local. And so if I want to sync a new one, I can click on the sync project and decide to find a new project to sync down. If I want to remove one of these from my local sync folder, I just highlight it, and then I would click unsync. And if I want to adjust what it is that's syncing down from that folder, we have a selective sync as well. So you would highlight that project that's very large, you would hit selective sync. This would open up to its full entirety, allowing the user to be able to go in and decide and pick and choose, or selectively go in and decide what it is that they want to have synced down from this project instead of having to have the entire thing synced down. So this is a great way to focus or conserve some space on your local disk for some of those really big projects where there are some critical things in there that you want to have syncing down, but not the entire thing, okay? Now, in regards to working on documents, with your colleagues that are sharing access, right, in terms of, being a part of the same folder or the same project, to prevent conflict files. So as I showed you earlier, you can go into one of these folders from the local sync folder, and I could right-click to lock and open the document, or lock for me, and that would work. What that would do is flag the document as being in read-only mode for everybody else, and letting them know that, a user is currently in an active session with this document, so it's in read-only mode for everybody else. That's sort of a manual process of being able to lock the document. Now, for any Office documents like Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, you have a smart locking capability that's turned on, and that means that instead of remembering to lock, I can just simply open the document like I normally would to work on it, and the second I start to make changes to this document, it's going to recognize that I have modified the document, and it's going to automatically lock the document, right? And so you'll see that as I add a word here, it then pops up the lock, and there's a little lock icon on the little file icon now that's blue. A blue lock indicates that you have it locked, and a red lock would indicate that one of your colleagues has it locked. And when you're simply done, you just save the document back into the same folder. You just close it up, and that would sync all those changes back to the cloud, and then we'll automatically unlock that document. And there it is right there. So this essentially will help users, without having to remember to have to lock and unlock those common Office documents. It allows it just to work, seamlessly in the background. This also is, in the event that there is a conflict file, just hypothetically speaking, if two people are working on a document at the same time, we do preserve both versions of the document, so both users would have the opportunity of saving the content and the work that they've done down to the cloud there. And it would provide the document under the same naming convention, but with a parentheses next to it that would indicate whose version is which, allowing you to go in and decide on a master copy or merge the two together as you see fit. Okay, so that's kind of how we handle that. And we keep unlimited document versioning for 180 days. So if you need to go back to see version control or version history, you have 180 days you can get to from the online to be able to see versioning of documents going back 180 days, unlimited document versioning, okay? Now, this next tab in the configuration here is called folder sync, and this is only accessible by the administration, okay? And what this is allowing you to do is cloud enable local file servers or drive letters that the client, might be still operating, and they're currently utilizing something like VPN to access it remotely or something like that. So what you can do is as an admin, you can map that drive letter or that file server into the service, the cloud, and it creates a bidirectional sync down so that you can now access that same file server utilizing the Autotask Workplace mobile, online, or local sync folder, right? And that gives you the ability to now do away with VPN. And it also provides some great stability. I mean, in the event that the file server fails, it's all mapped and synced to the cloud, so, the company doesn't lose work for that period of time that the file server's down. They can just, utilize the cloud account and be able to get in there and continue to work as they go forward, okay? Very powerful feature and really allowing, I think, customers and clients to have some options in terms of how they would want to migrate into the cloud, whether it's an all or nothing or, a slow process of moving critical things in through this cloud enablement feature, okay? Backups offers the users at a local level to be able to utilize a complementary or supplemental backup. This allows them to be able to back things up utilizing their local computer and the desktop agent, so they're backing up to the cloud. So this acts as sort of a complementary or supplemental backup for users going forward. And this can be turned on or turned off at a granular perspective. The network tab is just a throttle speed control that you can adjust the agent. So when you're doing a maximum, upload or migration or something, you can push that throttle to the fullest, and that gives you the option of speeding that up a little bit. This is also in place as we do not have a file size restriction. So any clients that are utilizing video content or large file sizes, they're not going to get slapped on the wrist to have to break that up or compress it. This is going to work seamlessly in the background for them so that they can basically collaborate with some of the larger stuff and not have to worry about it, okay? So that's the local agent, the local sync agent, okay? I'm going to move on now to the online perspective, and I'm logging in as a super administrator to the account. And so, as a super admin, you're going to be seeing a little bit more than what a normal user would see. As you can see here, there's reporting, configuration, team, and some things under there as well that are admin-oriented. So this is essentially the online web UI dashboard, and you can see that I have some front and center items that are bookmarked or favorited. I have account information, I have devices and projects and team information. So sort of widgets here that are assisting me in understanding my account from a dashboard perspective. So one of the first things you can do from a security perspective is set up the policies and set up the security around the service going forward, right? And this sort of separates us from being kind of a private cloud from a public cloud or a consumer grade from business grade. And so under configuration, you have policies which allow you to go in and sort of customize the policies around this account, right, and customize it to that of the client. So password policies is pre-standard in terms of enterprise password credentials, digits and letters, and must contain, certain amounts of either or. You also have IP fencing down here that's tied to a two-factor authentication. So if the user, if you want to, lock down where it is that the users can log in from and make that, basically tethered to a two-factor authentication, you can set up, an IP address whitelist around 2FA and really require that. And that's a nice way of sort of herding the cattle, so to speak, in terms of where people can actually log in from. Under session policies, you can do things like session timeouts or remembering me allowed or not, or displaying the IP address in the web UI so you can see where folks are popping in from or where they're logging in from. If you'd like to set up IP fencing without the two-factor authentication, you also have an IP address whitelist that you can set up that is essentially a restricted list for where folks can log in from, but not tied to a 2FA, okay? General policies allows you to have a kill switch on public links, so that's our FTP replacement. You can delegate the unlock capability of documents to go to the project owner instead of anyone within that project. And you also have a remote access piece that users can get to from the device tab, which is at the top, and that allows users to be able to find their devices, to be able to go to their particular device, open it up, and this would give them the ability of seeing all the projects that are syncing to that device remotely. They can see the backup status of what it is that they've backed up using that desktop agent, and then they also have a remote access piece which will show them that computer remotely. It's not a virtual desktop where you can run programs and executables and those kind of things, but what it's going to do is give you a lay of the land in terms of documents and folders and files, okay? And so from the policy section, this is something that you can allow the users to have at their disposal, or it's something you can just turn off on a global level, right, and remove that remote access piece. The two bottom customizable options there are essentially routing any service messages, whether those are welcome emails or storage quota emails. Instead of those going to the users in question, they would go to the administration, thus minimizing some confusion amongst users not having to receive service messages, okay? Online editing allows the ability to open up some bridges to Google Docs, Microsoft OneDrive, or Office 365. So the current state of the online is such that if you're editing a document from the browser like this, what you're doing is utilizing the operating system to edit that document. Now, if users and clients have one of these bridges already, or these third-party applications, they can utilize them to do things like online editing or multi-user editing sessions, okay? And that would give them the ability to do that. And you could turn this on very granular within the settings under Manage Partner Apps. You can actually do this per user or by a group of people if you need to, but you have the option of turning these on where you see fit, okay? So it's expanding some editing capabilities from online as well as multi-user editing. Device policies allows you to turn on a device approval process for any hardware that is going to try and sync to the service. So if you want the service to be a free-for-all so that users can sync down as many devices as they want, you can disable this, and they really have that option. They can sync to several mobile devices, tablets, smartphones, all that kind of stuff. Or if you turn this on, and you can turn it on for mobile or desktop, it means that the users will have to have an approval process prior to their hardware syncing to the service for that first initial sync. And so if you want to limit, which devices that have the potential of syncing, then you turn this on and you only approve of those devices, right? It becomes a white list or a definitive list of what it is that you're allowed to sync down to as a user, okay? This also comes with a remote wipe capability. So if I was to go in and try and remove a user from the service, whether they were fired or I was letting them go or something like that, I would go to the Team tab like this. I would find my members. I would right-click on that member, and then I could go down and either disable them, which just cuts them off from the service, but everything else sort of stays as is, or you can delete the person, and that would cue you with basically prompting you saying, hey, before you delete this person, they were responsible or owned these projects. You can reassign, in terms of like an adoption process, you can reassign these to a new owner right here. If you don't have the time to do this, by default, they will just be reassigned to you as the admin. And then below, it will queue up those devices that had been approved for this person, and you can just remote wipe them, okay? And that would basically remove the Autotask Workplace application, both from the mobile as well as the desktop. Okay, that's device policies. And so if I was an admin and we had device policies turned on and one of our users goes home and tries to sync to their home PC, I would get a service message as an admin letting me know that I need to log into my Team tab. I would then go to Manage Devices right here, and this would give me a list of all the pending devices that are queued for approval, right? And that would give me the option of going in and saying yes or no to those devices as an admin, okay? And this also allows you as an admin to be able to go through and search various hardware, mobile as well as desktop, in terms of an administration perspective, okay? So that's device policies. The last one down here is mobile device policies. And mobile device policies is very powerful within our solution, the Autotask Workplace, because we provide a mobile app that comes all-inclusive with what functionality the users are looking for, right? So it comes with document editing, document annotation, and document creation, all built into the mobile app. So, you know, they're not going to have to go looking for an editor or an annotator. These are all built into the app. And so that also is, from a security standpoint, very important because the content is never really needing to leave the application. They can do everything they need to within the mobile app, right? And so this allows you to go in from an administration side of things and have, you know, sort of some granular policies around the mobile application itself, okay? And if I wanted to disable mobile exporting, for example, I can check that box, and that means that my users now can log in, they can edit, they can annotate, they can document create from our mobile app, but they can't send anything from the mobile app. It becomes really a kind of a true locked container at that point. And, you know, essentially if you bundle this with device policies as well as IP fencing, now you're really in control of not only what devices my people can sync down to, where they're allowed to access from, and also, you know, the granular permissions therein, so where they're allowed to even access in terms of folders and files, okay? And it starts to build or paint a picture around security that really works for, you know, any of the use cases out there in terms of verticals and different industries, okay? Some other administration things that you have access to as an admin are reporting, and again, this is really, you know, a high-level sort of auditing center for team, user access, project, and special, giving the administration the ability to run reports on, you know, devices, configuration, Active Directory, any of the things in here I can run reports on to basically go in and assess, you know, what it is that my people are doing. I can do this from a project perspective, and I can go event type, and I can run, you know, reports on files or projects or public links or whatever I need to, okay? And this is going to give you a very high-level overview of being able to do that. Now, in terms of roles of users within the group or inside the account itself, you have three main sort of levels of access. You have a member, which is, you know, a user, a standard user to the service, somebody that logs in and has access to their content. You have an admin, a team admin, which has the ability to get into policies and reporting and some of the things I've showed you. And then you also have a super administrator. And a super admin is typically owned or operated by the owner of the company or the CEO, and it's providing very deep level of granularity or very high level accountability to the actual service itself and the company DNA. The super admin has exclusivity to this area called Manage Projects. And so if I click on this Manage Projects, it's going to have me authenticate twice for security. And then that way, you know, nobody can come by my computer while it's on and just pop right into this. And so now that I'm in here as a super admin, I can actually go in and look at all of my members' projects, all of my members' deleted projects, projects by active and deleted members, and projects by groups. I can also run a report on all the public links that are live. So really you have the ability of going in and looking at, you know, any member, how many projects he or she is the owner of, and then drilling into that person and to see those particular folders or projects they're the owner of. Even the ones that are private, I still have the option as the super admin to be able to go in and look to see what they have, right? Full accountability. And if I need to take control of any of these folders at any time, I can right-click, I can go down to Manage, and I have the option of reassigning these projects from this particular user that are live to a new user or a new owner, you know, and if I need to do that, I can. And so very high-level sort of authority here with this super admin from the Manage Project area. You know, giving that level of transparency that I think is really needed from a business solution like this, okay? So now getting into some of the collaborative sides of things. So let's assume that, you know, as the creator of this account, we've gone ahead and brought in our projects or folders from the existing location, which might have been a file server, or maybe we're bidirectionally syncing these down to our file server, and now they're populated in here. And so the next thing that we're going to need to do is to bring our users into the service, right? We have a couple of ways that we can do that. If we click on the Team tab, I can import my members by CSV file right here, okay? I can also add members individually, which is like a one-off of first name, last name, email address, phone number, how much storage space, whether they're going to have that complementary backup we talked about, or if I need to promote this person to a super administrator or a regular administrator, I could do so, okay? So this is kind of like a one-off. So you have a CSV file bulk upload as well as a kind of a one-off sort of setup. And then you also have under configurations from the admin side of things, you can get into Active Directory. And you have a couple of options with Active Directory. You can configure this with an on-prem agent, or you can do so with an LDAP direct path, right? And so essentially what this is going to do is bring in your users, your groups, and your passwords. So if this is, abiding by some NTFS permissions, those do not get carried up with this. So essentially this is just bringing in users, groups, and passwords. And those would, be found once you've decided on a methodology of importing your users. From one of those three methods, you'll have underneath the team tab a members list, which is essentially all of your users. You'll have your groups, which are, basically a bunch of different people together, forming groups like departments or whatnot. And then you're sitting on a project list, right? And so the next thing to do is to plug those users and groups into these projects. So at this point in time, if those users that we've migrated in tried to log in to the service, they could, but they're not going to see anything in there, right? Because we haven't shared any projects with them, and that's a good thing, right? That wouldn't make a lot of sense if we hired a contractor, gave them, login credentials, and then they logged in and saw everything within our crown jewels of our company. So, that's a granularity there, and it allows us to be able to say, okay, now that we've brought our users and groups in, let's plug them into these folders and projects so that they start to have granular permissions and basically divided up the way it's supposed to be in terms of their responsibilities. So under the project tab here, you have a drop down that allows you to filter this. And so if I drop this down, I can see all of my active projects. I can see all of my projects that I'm the owner of, all the projects that are private, shared, all the ones that have been shared with me from another owner, archived projects, and then also deleted content, okay? And anything that is deleted in the service stays in a retention bucket for 180 days, so that you can always pull it back out. Like I said earlier, anything that's deleted accidentally or intentional stays in that retention bucket, and you can always go in there and pull it out if you need to, okay? So looking at these projects, let's take this client outside content here as an example, okay? And I clicked into it, and you see it has 3 subfolders in there. And I want to share this out so that my user has access to only client C, okay? So the person I'm adding is just going to be responsible for client C. Now, if I added the person at this level, at the parent or root level, and I click shares right here, then that person would have access to clients A, B, and C. But if we only want this person to see client C, then we would click on client C so that we're at that subfolder level, then we would click shares, okay? And we would find the person by name or email address, and we'll use Ben as an example here. So Ben is in the queue, okay? And now we need to decide on what level of permission Ben needs to this project, okay, or this folder. And so you have a throttle that goes up and down, and it basically regulates how much permission they're going to have, starting with the top at full access. That would give Ben the ability to delete documents. It would give him the ability to modify any existing documents, and he would also be able to create new documents. As you start to scroll down here, it starts removing some of the abilities that Ben would have. So if I drop this down to create and modify, that would remove Ben's ability to delete content. So now he can only go in and modify existing content or create new content, but he can't delete. If we drop this down again, that would remove creation and deletion. So now he only has the ability of modifying existing content. He cannot create and cannot delete. If we drop this down once more, this is restricted that he only has read-only now, so he can't delete, he can't create, and he can't modify, okay? So the first layer of security here is where you're inserting the user at. So is it at the root level that they get all access to the entire thing, or is it at a subfolder where they're going to be limited to that? So that's kind of the first level. The second level of security is granting a permission based on where you are inserting them, okay, based from read-only to full access. And then the third level is to decide whether or not this particular user or group has the need to reshare or send public links to people that are outside of our company, right, that are not a part of this access. And if that's the case, then we would need to designate this reshare public link ability. And this is directly correlated to the user or group's permission structure. So if Ben is set at read-only, he can't be resharing or sending public links at anything higher than read-only because he himself is limited to read-only, right? So he's limited by that. He can always go down but not up. So if he's at create and modify, he would be able to send out a create and modify link, a modify link, or a read-only link, okay? So it's very limited based on that. So this is your methodology of being able to share these folders and subfolders and projects with the group of people that you import in, and then that provides them with that limited granularity that they need to have to these folders and to these projects based on their own responsibilities within the company. Okay, so that's the internal sharing. The external sharing is an example that I'm working with this client's outside content folder, and I need to send client C this subfolder for client C. So I would click on client C, much like the way the shares work. It's based on what level you're at. And so if I want to send client C this subfolder, I would create a public link, given that this has been turned on for me, because if it's not, then it doesn't even show up. And then I would click Allow Public Access, and you can see that it creates some configurables here for this subfolder client C. And so I have, a generic link I can send, or I can send the QR code. I also have the option of allowing client C to download the contents of this folder. And if I do allow for downloadable access, I can convert everything from the original content to PDF. So if I don't want them to download original content, I can convert it all to PDF. If I want to provide them with the ability to upload back into this folder, so it's kind of a give and take environment for them, I can also give them upload, right? So now they can take as well as give information within this link, right? Now they have upload capabilities. For confidential information, you can put a password protection on here, and you can, create your own or generate one. When you send the link, a lot of our, medical groups and legal and finance and anyone using really confidential information will put the patient's email address right here. And then when they send the link, they'll put a little message in here that'll say something like, here is your medical record. It's password protected. Please contact us to verify, your access serial number or whatever, whatever it is that they can, social security or whatever it is. And so they look that up when that person calls in, they grant them the password, and then they're able to get in and get access. And you can put an expiration of a day or a week or a month or whatever you're looking for. You can make this, access for only 15 minutes or 10 minutes based on the calendar of setting it at the exact date it is today, and then clicking on the clock and picking, intervals of 30 minutes where you can find a time that you'd like it to expire on, okay? If you're worried that you send this link to a client or somebody and they're going to look at the link and then forward it over to somebody else that, you might not want them to, you can put an auto expiration after an access count of, say, 1, right? That means they have one time to look at that link and then it expires, and then they can't do it again after that, right? So there's a configuration here you can do, and then, these are tracked and monitored by IP address under Show Stats. I can go in and look at the access history of the IP address, as well as the location and the date of when this was accessed. I can also rescind the information, so if I sent this to the wrong person or it's the wrong information, all I have to do is go in here and uncheck this box. That disables the public link, and if the user or the recipient on the other end is in a live session looking at it, the second they click on a document or the folder or refresh their page, it's going to immediately say access denied, okay? And so you have a great way of being able to pull that link back should you need to, much more effective than standard file transfer protocol. So that's your external capability, and again, that's based heavily off of not only where the user is plugged in within the folder structure, what level of permission they have, and then also whether that's been turned on for them, okay? And on the dashboard level, users can go in and look at all their public links right here, so that's going to give them a synopsis of all the public links. I can go in and look at all my locked files. Blue locks are indicating that I have it locked. A red lock would indicate somebody else does. Recent changes is going to give each user their own sort of personal audit trail, so they can go back and look and see if they remembered, if they deleted that document or added something or whatnot. It's going to give them an audit trail that will allow them to see that. Favoriting is a bookmarking capability. We do have an in-depth word search, so if you needed to search for a document by a word within that document, you could do that within the projects. But, for the sake of being in a hurry or something, you could bookmark these items as well, and that's simply favoriting them. And so I can right-click on any document in here, and that brings up a little pop-up menu where I can, go in and open or favorite or move or download. If I want to see versions of the document, I would right-click on the document, I go down to Manage, and then I can go over to Previous Versions, and that will show me a version history of who it was changed by, the size and date, and I have the options of reverting or restoring any of those previous versions, okay? So that really completes the walkthrough of the basics of the service. I want to quickly show what the MSP portal looks like, and so I'm just going to log into a demo Workplace Manager portal, which is where our MSPs manage their trials, their accounts, their deployments. And you'll see that as this populates, you'll see that these are all teams down here that I have the ability of managing, right? I've deployed these, 2 of which are on trials. You can see here that they have 2 days remaining on the trials, the status of these accounts, company that they're with, the plan they're on, how much storage they're using, how much members they have versus how many they're using. If I want to get in here and assist any of these teams remotely, I can just highlight the team, I can right-click on that team, and I can go down to Manage, and that will springboard me into that account as remotely from an admin perspective. And now that I'm in here, I can essentially get into configuring, members and connections and groups, managing devices. I can get into policies and Active Directory as well as reporting, right? And then to get back to the MSP portal, I go right back here into the Workplace Manager, and now I'm back into my overview screen where I can see all my other teams. I can sort by users or devices. And creating a team, it's as easy as clicking on this Create New Team, filling out this information right here, deciding on whether it's a 14-day trial or not, and creating it. And they're off and running and ready to go, and you're already starting to build that recurring revenue model using the service. Okay, so this is just kind of a snapshot of the MSP portal there, okay? So just kind of like summing up kind of what we've seen today, the hybrid deployment, again, I think this is very powerful stuff. It's essentially allowing for cloud enablement with file servers or drive letters where, the client isn't fully on board with moving over from something like that. They don't have to. They can keep that file server, and we're going to help map it into the service, creating a bidirectional sync, and that's, essentially universal remote access. It's providing, cloud backup and versioning as well to that file server. It's also a powerful mobile application, as I highlighted, that's providing all of those tools built in, okay? It also has some, competitive advantages as well. It's a real-time continuous backup, the folder and file continuous backup, and that's configured at the install. 6-month file versioning and recovery of deleted documents, as mentioned. We have no file size restriction, and it also provides a much more sound remote access perspective for users that are dynamic by doing, different job locations or traveling or whatnot using the Autotask Workplace mobile application. We've already started to integrate with some of Autotask's excellent platforms already. So PSA is in here. So if you're using Autotask PSA, creating a trial from within the partner portal manager that I just showed you would essentially create a contract within the PSA, which is bidirectionally synced, so you're not doing double data entry and essentially having to go back from one platform to the other. This is really kind of a hint at where we're going with this and really kind of highlighting how we're looking to try to utilize 3 platforms that partners find valuable today and putting them behind one pane of glass, making it so it's everything that you need, but at the same time not clunky or having to manage multiple different databases or services and endpoints to be able to have to plug information into. So this becomes very powerful, and as you can see here, this is just the first stab at this, and we have more to come as well. Okay. So some next steps in wanting to learn more about this, you can contact your Autotask rep. If you don't know your Autotask rep, you can just simply reach out to sales@Autotask, and we'll assign one to you that makes sense. And then, of course, it's just a matter of signing a reseller partner agreement with the AWP FSS solution, and then as well as an NDA, and then you're off and running and creating your recurring revenue. So. Again, we appreciate your time today and wanting to learn maybe a little bit more about this if you haven't already looked at it. If you have any questions about this, you can always reach out to us as hinted here. But I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have now, or otherwise have a great and wonderful afternoon or evening if you're East Coaster. Any questions? Cool. Well, thanks again, guys. I appreciate your time today. And again, if you have any more questions, please just reach out to Autotask, your rep. We're happy to facilitate a time where we can basically get it in front of you and help you to answer any questions that your clients might have as well. That's something probably on the roadmap. Yeah, I just got your question there, Anders. I would say that they're looking to probably do those kind of integrations coming in the next year or so. That's kind of on the next rise, right? Is starting to make those projects become versed in all of the platforms, right, and not just PSA, right? That's kind of the understanding.